What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything you need to know about on a daily basis and what's going on here in our country, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and stimulus check update. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. And remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, thanks for hitting the like button for us down below. Also, I want to thank everybody that wished my son Julian happy birthday. He turned 4 years old yesterday. Thank you so much. He also made a special guest appearance at the end of last night's 8 p.m. video. If you want to check that out, kind of a little birthday special for anybody that wanted to see that. You can go watch that episode if you wanted to. And he opened up a little gift. Pretty cool there. So, but thank you so much for everybody that wished him happy birthday. And yeah, he had a really good time. We took him to the zoo. But there's a lot going on here right now. Absolutely crazy. Putin is making nuclear threats right now. And even China is warning the world against World War III. And Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has some major announcements going on here regarding the next stimulus package. And I'll let you hear it right directly from him. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Check this out. Yeah, you can see here Putin threatens lightning fast strikes to those who intervene in the war. And the question here is, does he consider the U.S. already intervening as we're sending aid and weapons to Ukraine here on a weekly basis? And yeah, it's interesting here. Check this out. Yeah, Russian President Putin has responded to, quote, Western threats with a threat of his own, stating that the Russian army is prepared to deliver lightning fast strikes with strategic weapons. And this is a source directly from Putin speaking to Russian parliamentarians in St. Petersburg. The quote from Putin says, quote, if someone decides to intervene in current events in Ukraine, which Russia says the US is already doing, it's hard to decipher what they determine, is the current status of this from the outside and creates unacceptable strategic threats for Russia, then they must know that our response, our retaliatory strikes will be lightning fast, quick. We have all the tools for this, such that no one else can boast of right now, and we won't brag. We'll use them if needed. And everyone should know about it. All details in this regard have already been made. Yeah. Details and Russian legislators applauded these claims. Just unbelievable. I mean, they're having a hard time with just one country, Ukraine alone, let alone all of NATO. The Russian president stated that all goals and objectives of the war would be, quote, achieved. He did not clarify exactly what was meant by this. Putin is also convinced that Russia will withstand the economic pressure from the heavy sanctions and high military spending in the fight against Ukraine. He also added that the West is erroneous in its opinion that Russia as a country is unnecessary and poses a threat to the whole world. Putin added that it is precisely the West that poses a threat to the whole world. Yeah. And the voiced baseless thesis that the 1990s and 2000 Western governments wants to destroy Russia by encouraging and facilitating the succession movements of Chechnya from Russia. Now, meanwhile, China is urging, quote, restraint after Russia's foreign minister has raised the prospect of nuclear war. Yeah, so things are getting uh, very sketchy right now. China called for, quote, restraint after Russia's foreign minister raised the prospect of the real threat of nuclear war over Ukraine. China's foreign ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said, quote, no one wants to see the outbreak of a third world war, especially because this time around we'd probably have nuclear war multiple times right out the gate, potentially. Hopefully not, but Russia's threatening it now already before it's World War III's even happened. Wenbin added, we hope that the relevant parties can keep cool-headed and exercise restraint. Meanwhile, mentioning cool-headed, you can let me know if you think Russia's being cool-headed here. You can see this headline here. U.S. cites credible reports that Russia just executed Ukrainians trying to surrender. So while these Ukrainians were surrendering, Russian troops just executed them instead in Donetsk. Yeah, the U.S. has credible evidence that Russia did this to Ukrainians who tried to surrender. The U.S. ambassador at large for global criminal justice, Beth Van Schlack, said at the United Nations meeting here yesterday, saying, quote, we now have credible information that a Russian military unit operating in the vicinity did this here to Ukrainians who were attempting to surrender, and rather than take them into custody, this is what they did. Quote, if true, this would be in violation of a core principle of the law of war, the prohibition of against the summary of execution of civilians and combatants who are hors de combat by virtue of surrender, injury, or other forms, she added. Wow. And Biden says he will be speaking later here today on what the U.S.'s response will be. So I will keep you up to date here. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think we're headed towards World War III? Do you think Russia would attack other countries? Remember, we just have reports here that Russia may have already attacked another country, Moldova, here within the last 24 hours or so. And Russia's literally kind of threatening everybody. They're threatening Sweden, they're threatening Finland, they're threatening the United States, they're threatening Europe. I don't there's not very many countries that they're not threatening at this point. So at this point, anything's possible. Let me know your thoughts here. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So yeah, I don't even know how to transition from that, but next up, we got Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. The Senate's got the whole Congress has got their hands full with Russia. It's rising inflation. It's making the cost of food high, the cost of gas high. It's one of the major reasons why states are passing stimulus checks and reducing taxes, reducing sales tax, reducing gas taxes. That's one of the major reasons why a lot of states are giving stimulus checks back. And it's one of the reasons why you'll hear what Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has to talk about here in the speech I'm about to show you, and potentially why they want to pass, or what things they might be passing in the next stimulus package, as things are kind of shifting here because of how bad inflation is, and inflation relief is what a lot of people are talking about right now. So here is what Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has to say here. Check this out.
We'll continue working on legislation to lower costs and improve Americans' daily lives. That's one of our primary focuses. We're pushing legislation to lower the cost of putting food on the table, fight price gouging at the pump, keep the cost of insulin affordable, relieve supply chain crisis, and increase competition through antitrust enforcement. In all those ways, just take the quiet, folks. Just take the example of the oil companies. They made record profits this year, more than they ever have. I think it's over $200 billion for the top companies, and yet they did record stock buybacks. Here, price of oil is going way up, and what are they doing? Even from their own point of view, they're not improving their own production, let alone help their employees or reduce prices. Instead, it's to feather the nests of CEOs and rich shareholders. It's outrageous. And one of the reasons we want to get Bedoya on the FTC is to look into it, but as you'll hear from Senator Cantwell, we're exploring legislative approaches as well. These are all areas where Congress can now take action to help American families. But to move quickly, of course, the way the Senate works, we need cooperation from our Republican colleagues. Pointing fingers isn't going to help fight inflation. It isn't going to lower the costs for American families. They need to get on board and not let extraneous political issues get in the way of the Senate delivering help for families. We're also going to continue to confirm President Biden's administrative. Hey, folks, can't hear. Thank you. We're going to continue confirming President Biden's administrative and judicial nominees. This week, we're teed up to confirm President Biden's nominees to the FTC, the Federal Reserve, Department of Labor, Department of Housing and Urban Development, and District Court. Now, we've had some issues with attendance that just arose in the last few hours, but we're going to continue pushing to get the President's nominees confirmed. These health issues will not deter us from getting these done. Also, during this work period, the Senate's ready to work quickly to approve the President's expected emergency funding request to support the people of Ukraine in their fight against Russian aggression. Once the President makes his request to Congress, approving additional aid for Ukraine will be a priority. I expect both sides to work in the same bipartisan way we did the first time to get a Ukraine supplemental done. So we got a lot to do. Let me call on, who's more senior? You came the same year. We'll do it by alphabetical. Cantwell. Cantwell.
Thank you, Leader Schumer. Thank you. It's great to be here with my colleague, Senator Stabenow. As the leader said, we're working on issues that affect everyday consumers on price. As you know, we passed out of the Senate a shipping bill that we're working with the House to resolve the differences on. This is very important because shipping costs have accelerated greatly and have raised costs on average Americans. We also are working on trying to get the chip and the competitive bill to conference because that particular issue was also causing everything from used cars to appliances to everyday products that consumers need to be more expensive. But we're also working hard on other issues. As the leader said, confirming Bedoya to the FTC. The Federal Trade Commission's job is to be the policeman and make sure that there are not unfair or artificially inflated prices. We know that when it comes to the issues of drug pricing, something that we've talked a lot about and are going to continue to talk about, the price of insulin has tripled over the last 10 years from $230 to $735 per patient per month. And so that is why the Federal Trade Commission has tried to open an investigation but has had a tie 2-2 vote on the FTC. So believe me, Democrats want to get Mr. Bedoya appointed as soon as possible to break that tie and to move forward on investigating this important issue. We also want to move forward. We had a hearing on the dark market that exists in the spot oil market. As our witness testified before the Commerce Committee 2 weeks ago, it is a gaping hole. We believe there needs to be more transparency in the spot oil market, and we are working on legislation to try to close that loophole and give consumers some understanding there is someone looking at the high prices, particularly when you have prices on the West Coast as high as $7 in California and big differentials in other parts of the country. Thank you.
Senator Stabenow.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad that the leader knows the alphabet, so thank you so much.
On certain days.
Well, good afternoon. I just want to step back for a moment. I think it's so important as we talk about the things that we're doing this work period, the things that we've gotten done in the last year, to recognize again that President Biden, the new Democratic majorities, were left a big mess in terms of what's happening on COVID, loss of life, children not being in school, all of our small businesses, restaurants, others being threatened, and so on. Step by step, we are moving forward to address that. And I also want to note that when our Republican colleagues talk about the national debt, 30% of the entire national debt was created in 4 years by Trump. Over $4 trillion. So we continue to move forward. When I hear them, all I hear is they're complaining we're not cleaning up their mess fast enough. So now the next step is really fixing supply chains and bringing down costs and attacking price gouging. And once again, Republican colleagues talk about inflation, but where are they in working with us to be able to lower costs for Americans, including at the grocery store? And that leads me to what we did in the Agriculture Committee today. First of all, there are just 4 large multinational meat processing businesses that control 85% of the supply. 3 of the 4 are foreign companies. So when we look at this right now, the big guys are muscling out the newer, smaller meat processors who simply can't compete, which leaves both farmers and families in a very difficult situation. Lack of competition threatens our food security. We witnessed that during the pandemic. We saw empty shelves. At the same time, major meat companies saw record profits. And we know that price gouging does exist. So that's why the President, Senate Democrats are doing things to focus on this. The President has a plan he's moved forward. We have the American Rescue Plan, investments to create more competition with small and regional processors, which, by the way, every Republican voted no on the American Rescue Plan. And in the committee today, we took up a hearing on 2 bills to lower costs. Senator Tuster's bill to create a Meat and Poultry Special Investigator Act and a bipartisan Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act to help our ranchers get a fair price while consumers are not gouged at the supermarket. I would just say that Republicans talk and talk and talk, and we act and act and act. That's what we do, and we're going to continue to lead these efforts that are related to price gouging that is causing the incredible prices that people are having to pay.
Okay, Senator S. I'm ready for cues. Go ahead.
There's been a lot of concern from some of your moderate members and those up for re-election about Title 42 and the administration's decision to overturn that at the end of May. Do you think that decision should be delayed?
Look, the bottom line is, let me say this about Title 42. Number one, no, it shouldn't be used to hold up important things like COVID aid, number one. And number two, we're going to be working through this to see if we can come to a position that our caucus can agree on. There's divisions there now. Yes, next.
Reaction to Elon Musk buying Twitter, and Amy Klobuchar just briefed your caucus on antitrust, big tech antitrust legislation. Are you going to bring that to the floor?
Okay, on the second question, we had a very good discussion. She made very powerful presentation, and I'm working with her to see that we can get 60 votes to get to the floor. On Elon Musk, I would say, look, in many ways, Twitter has been a dark, dark place. I hope it doesn't get any darker. Yes.
The inflation package you talked about, is that going to move through regular order or budget reconciliation? And how does
The
it fit
inflation, what are you talking about?
There's talk of an inflation package to combat inflation. Does that move through budget reconciliation or regular order?
Look,
how does it fit with the other reconciliation effort?
Look, reconciliation is very, very important. I met, as he came out and told people, I met with Senator Manchin this morning. Our meetings were both preliminary and good, and we're going to continue to keep talking. If you want to get rid of inflation, the only way to do it is to undo a lot of the Trump tax cuts and raise rates. No Republican is ever going to do that. So the only way to get rid of inflation is through reconciliation. Yes.
Earlier this month, a report from the San Francisco Chronicle raised questions about Senator Dianne Feinstein's memory, including 3 Democrats raising concerns about this. Have any of these senators approached you about this?
No.
Are you confident in her ability to serve?
They have not. I've had a good number of discussions with Senator Feinstein, but I'm keeping them to myself. Yes. Go ahead. We'll give you both.
Okay, thanks.
Who's his name first alphabetically?
Begins with an H. Ukraine
H.
supplemental.
Right in the middle. Yeah.
So are you planning on putting the Ukraine supplemental as a standalone on the floor, or are you going to proceed with carrying it with international?
Look, we think COVID aid, both international and domestic, is very, very important. Let me say this. There's been reports, accurate as best I can tell, that a lot of some of the therapeutics, which are such an important part of the COVID relief, were developed, most of them were developed in America by American companies. But since Congress, blocked by Republicans, hasn't acted, these companies are very tempted to sign contracts with other countries. God forbid we have another variant that's fairly virulent. We need these therapeutics, but they're all going to other countries, even though they were made here, created here, and manufactured. So I would urge our Republican colleagues to pass COVID relief ASAP. It's very risky for the health of the American people for them to be playing political games with it.
Yeah, so let me know your thoughts here. As you can see, they're working on a lot of different things, including inflation relief. We know that states are working on inflation relief. We've had a lot of different states that have passed state stimulus checks, state stimulus packages, reducing taxes and reducing gas taxes, all sorts of different things on the state level as well. And they're also working on a new version of a stimulus package on the federal level. So really, there's a lot going on here, and it's an election year for pretty much everybody except for about two-thirds of the Senate. There's about a third of the senators that are up for reelection, and not for the president, of course, as well. But for all the House of Representatives, about a third of the Senate, and for a lot of state governors as well. So I will keep you up to date here with everything. Make sure to click the subscribe button down below. If you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, it's completely free to do so, and join our family here. It's pretty amazing here. If you ever read our comments down below, we have one of the warmest families here on YouTube. Remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I just did a big stimulus check update yesterday with my son Julian at the end of the video for his birthday. You can watch that video here. And also, I have a Social Security raise video here as well. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.